All right, once again to everybody, I say welcome to you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome to tonight's class. And it's wonderful having to share my evening with you. And I am, happy and excited that in my heart that I get to share knowledge about the things that I know. It's always amazing when I, get to do these things. All right, so I just want to say welcome to everybody. Now, I really see your commitment. I see how passionate you are about learning cybersecurity. I see the effort that you put into it. So I'm also assuring you that, I'll do my best ensuring that I keep on, I deliver value to you, right? So once again, I say welcome to you. And amazing thing is that in our previous classes, we talked about the Windows CLI, right? The Windows operating system, but we're more focused on the CLI. And then we touched a couple of things, right? So tonight, we're just going to build on that foundation by moving into Kali Linux, right? So now we also have the CLI for Mac OS, right? We have CLI for Windows, we have CLI for Linux, right? But in cybersecurity, because Linux, Kali Linux specifically, it aligns more with the things that we do in cybersecurity from pen testing to digital forensics and the likes, right? And even, well, that's basically Linux distributions, right? You can host websites on them and they are very, very good for scalability, right? I think with what I mean by scalability is something that over time, when we're doing more complex things, you understand what I mean by scalability. So, welcome to Linux Fundamentals with Kali Linux, right? By now, you're already used to the Windows operating system, but it's for you to understand that with Kali Linux, this is a very much powerful operating system, right? And it is widely used in servers and security and development. When we say development, we're looking at web development or OS development, right? Operating system development, application development, and the likes, right? Where you need to write programming languages to build something, right? So in this course, we'll use Kali Linux, a popular Linux distribution that is designed for learning, designed for security testing, and real-world applications. So here are the things that you're going to learn in this class. But as you can see, the pages that we have here are about 41 pages, which means that there's no way on earth that we're going to max out these pages tonight. So it's allowed to spin off into another day, like maybe on Sunday. But even on that same Sunday, there is also a very, very high probability that we may not be able to touch everything in the material. And that's where I'm going to need your dedication. I'm going to need your commitment to follow through with the material so that we can move into other important parts of the course, right? After we're done with all this, we're moving into networking so that you can understand networking concepts, you can understand ports, you can understand protocols, you can understand services, you can understand end devices, hosts, and the likes, right? So after we finish up with this next week, when this Sunday, on Wednesday next week, we're going to move into networking fundamentals. So whether we're able to finish up this material in this class, right, I'm going to rely on you for you to see through the material, like go through the material and exhaust it, right? I intentionally created this material with the mindset of what if anybody just opens this material, would they be able to understand it and follow through? So I've ensured that it is something you can follow through. So please, I urge you that whatever it is that we stop, maybe on the 30th page or on the whatever page, just ensure you continue. You'll find the knowledge in this material to be very, very useful in the subsequent classes. All right. All right. So let's progress, right? Let's learn where we can use Linux, right? Linux can feel a little intimidating when you're first starting out, which is true. It will seem overwhelming. It will seem like a whole lot. It will seem like you don't understand it. And will you even ever understand it? The simple truth is that yes, you can understand it. It can be your best buddy. It can be your go-to, right? Because the more time you spend with it, the more you understand it and the more you're able to navigate around it, right? So Linux is everywhere all around us. Most devices that we use today, from your smartphones to your calculators to your servers to your routers, your network, they are operating on Linux kernel or Linux operating systems, right? So let's just call it a kernel, right? Linux kernel. Are we following, right? So like I always say in the classes that if there's any point in time that you want me to reiterate something I just said, or you're confused, you want more explanation, please signify. And from time to time, I'll be asking questions like, do you have any question? Do you have anything? So if you have any question, that would be a very, very good time to ask your question. And if you also feel like you want to type it out, maybe you're a very shy person, you don't like speaking where people are, which I discourage you from doing, right? Find a way to say it, find a way to share it, right? Vocally. All right, so now we're going to be using Linux tonight. We're going to be learning Linux tonight. We're going to be learning the CLI of Linux operating systems. Why? Because it is lightweight and very powerful and also very, very secure. All right, so Linux powers a wide range of technologies like websites and servers that run on the internet, car systems like dashboards and entertainment controls, point of sales systems in shops and restaurants, and critical infrastructure, including traffic lights, sensors, and medical equipment. Now, it doesn't stop there. Your end devices also uses Linux in the background, right? That's why in cybersecurity, as a pen tester or ethical hacker, we learn the Linux CLI because there is no operating system you're trying to break into that the Linux CLI would not be able to communicate with it or break into it, right? So it's a very, very powerful tool, a very, very powerful operating system that you need to learn. It's crucial for your journey in cybersecurity, right? So, like I said, Linux has different distributions. We have Debian, we have Kali, we have Parrot OSEC, we have ParrotSec, um, we have a couple of other ones like that too, right? But we're going to be using Kali Linux, right? Because Kali Linux gives me one very, very good advantage that most of the pen testing softwares or tools that I'm going to be in need of are already pre-installed on the Kali Linux, right? Like Bob Suit, Metasploit, John the Ripper, Hydra, Set, and the likes, right? So Linux isn't just one operating system, it's more likely like a family of operating systems with many different versions called distributions or distros. So each distribution is designed with a purpose in mind. For example, we have Ubuntu and Debian, which are popular for servers and desktops, right? You can use these ones. It will feel as though you're using your Windows operating system, right? Because it is more graphically inclined than CLI, right? And then we also have Fedora, which is used for testing new cutting edge features. Then we have Kali Linux, which is what we're going to be using tonight. It's designed specifically for cybersecurity, penetration testing, and digital forensics, like I said earlier. So for those that are just joining the class, maybe you're leaving, you're coming back in due to network, I welcome you to class. All right, so Kali is based on Debian, but comes packed with hundreds of security tools that makes it a great way to learn Linux basics while also getting exposure to the tools used by professionals in cybersecurity. So please, I need you to pay attention, right? It's an online class, and I'm going to need you to pay attention. If there's anything you're not getting, maybe your network, was disoriented, you can ask questions. I encourage it. All right. So now, let's talk about commands inside of Linux. Like, what exactly are Linux commands? Now, we've seen some of these things before inside of the Windows CLI, right? But we're going to be meeting them again inside of the Linux CLI, right? So, Linux commands are instructions you type into the terminal to tell the operating system what to do. Instead of clicking through menus and buttons like in Windows or Mac OS, Linux gives you a powerful way to interact directly with the system using text-based commands. So those commands are the things that we're going to be learning tonight. But quickly, let me show you what a terminal is so you will know exactly what I'm referring to as a terminal. So as you can see, the thing here is that depending on the distribution you're using, if you're using a Kali distribution, you're using a Debian distribution, the way you find the terminal is quite different, right? But for me now, I have about two options I can use in, and I don't want to use a shortcut right now. So that you can see what I'm doing, right? I have two options, right? I can either click on this button right here to open up a terminal. And as you can see, the terminal is open. This is where I can start writing my commands and my scripts. All right. And another option is you can just click on this applications icon, this small dragon icon on the top left corner and just type into it. But you don't even need to type into it, right? You'll see it right here. We have terminal emulator and we have root terminal emulator. All right, so you can either use this option, but for speed, right? It's always somewhere at the top here because it is one of the tools that people use the most. So they've put it here as a shortcut for you. So just click on it and it opens up your terminal, right? So now, why do you need to use Linux commands, right? You can't achieve anything with Linux if you don't know the commands, right? So why you need to learn these commands are because of it gives you direct control. You can do almost anything faster through this terminal. And it also enables automation. It supports automations. Commands can be combined into scripts to automate tasks. That's why some people sometimes say that is it important to me that I learn programming languages? Now, the truth is that it is not a criteria, it's not a necessity for you in cybersecurity. But if you're somebody who doesn't like doing the same repetitive task over and over again, right? You can learn a programming language that supports automation like Python, right? Python is one of the go-to programming languages that almost everybody in cybersecurity should have or should know, right? And why I said almost everybody is because there's some fields in cybersecurity, some niches in cybersecurity that programming doesn't affect them, right? People that are in GRC, for example, they don't have any business with even people in risk management and assessment or threat intelligence. They have no business with learning a programming language. But if you're moving towards SOC, you're moving towards blue teaming, you're moving towards red teaming, you should think of how to get to learn a programming language, right? And also, one of the reasons why we use Linux command is for power and flexibility. Some features in Linux are only available via commands, right? They don't have a GUI representation, right? They only use commands, right? And also universality. Commands work across different Linux distributions like Kali, Ubuntu, Debian, and the likes. Even Parrot. It's the same terminal, the same commands, right? So I'm going to skip these types of commands you learn and we'll just go directly into the whole thing, right? Let's look at running your first command ever, right? Let's look at your first ever command ever. We have what we call echo, and its function is that you can print text or variables to the terminal. So example is when you type things like echo my name, right? It types the exact same thing, my name. Now, also in if it was in what's it called? If it was in programming like Python, for example, if you just say things like print my name, that should help you achieve the same result. But this is more about this is more of Python, right? But this is more of the CLI inside of Kali. So typing things like echo just prints out the content of whatever you have written in front of, like, just to say echo. When you're in a very, very, should I say, allo environment, and then you shout, right? Sometimes you can hear your echo. That is exactly what that command does, as the name implies, right? Echo, and it will bring back whatever it is that you typed in front of echo to give it back to you. All right. So let's move forward. Then we also have commands like who am I? Right? This command displays the username of the current user. And why is this particular command useful? Right? It tells you the current user of the device or whatever kind of privilege that they have too, right? For example, if this was root, let's just say, let me open up a new terminal and go in as root. So let's do sudo su, all right? Okay. Are you kidding me? How am I forgetting my password? Okay, so now that's out of the way. So if I type things like who am I here right now, it tells me that I am root. That's because this is like the super user with admin privileges and every privilege, right? That's the root user. So I'm going to explain to you why this particular command is very, very useful to people who are in pen testing and the likes, right? So think of it that you found your way into a target system. Maybe you're conducting a pen testing engagement for the organization to identify vulnerable machines, right? And you've gained access into a device remotely. You can easily just type "who am I" on the terminal, and that "who am I" command should tell you that, okay, this is the user that owns this device. Now, if that user is a root user, it will also show you that this person is a root user. Automatically, you know that your privileges are high and things you can do in that system are very, very high, right? Without limitation, since you're the root user. That is the relevance of this "who am I" command to security, right? All right, so let's move forward with so I want to ask real quick, just say yes or no in the chat box. Do you think I need to talk to you about what LS does and what CD does? All right, but for the sake of this class, I'm going to treat this class as though that we've never used any CLI before, right? Um, we're just going to do that. So now let's use the LS command, and we're going to use CD command, and we're also going to use the cat command. So LS first. LS, let's even check where we are. LS, okay, so at the moment we're in the home. Now this symbol represents home, right? I'll take us back. So it's what I mean. CD dot dot takes one step back. Now, as you can see, this is home directory, right? Let's do ls. Okay. Now, if you say your home, right, we have different users inside of your system. For example, I have Dr. Cyber and I also have Splunk. These are two different users with two different permissions and two different tools that they have inside of them, right? But then if I now say I want to go into DR Cyber, right, CD DR Cyber, so I can access the files that are inside of DR Cyber, right? You can see that this area changed to this icon or to this symbol, right? This symbol means that I am currently in a user's home directory, right? I'm currently in a user's home directory. So, which means that anything I want to do here now are the things that only DR Cyber has access to. Don't forget that DR Cyber is a user, and every operation that DR Cyber has been doing has been saved or is always saved inside of the DR Cyber's folder, right? So if I type ls now, it lists the content of that DR Cyber, right? It lists the content of the things that are inside of DocuCyber's profile. So we have DR Cyber profile and we have Splunk profile. So the moment I went into DR Cyber's folder, this icon, this symbol changed to this, letting me know that I am inside of a users or a profiles folder. I hope that makes sense to you, right? But if it doesn't, you can ask me for more clarity. But I believe that with that explanation, you understand what I mean by that. All right now. So let's move forward. Like I said we're going to use the ls command and we're going to use the cd command. I think I've used cd command just now. So let's just do cd again and navigate to where we have desktop. Mind you, unlike the Windows CLI, this Linux CLI is case sensitive. So if you're not typing it correctly, you're not going to get into that folder or get access to that file. So do that again. I want you to pay attention. Now, when I do cd capital E desktop, if you observe the text is lighter, right? The text is lighter, but that's because that desktop, the way it is written here, is not found in the folder that I am currently in. But once I type the correct thing, the text font becomes bold, letting me know that what I am actually typing is correct and it exists in the folder. Now, this is a setting. It's not going to be like this on everybody's Kali Linux by default, right? But if you're experiencing that, you can reach out to me so that I can help you reset it. I can show you how to reset it in a way that when you're trying to access a file that exists in that folder, the font will be bold. So you know that yes, what you're typing is correct. So let's do CD desktop, and we're inside of the CD desktop. So these are the applications for ls and cd. Ls means to list the directory, like show us the content of the directory, while cd means change directory. Right, so you're going to be seeing that there are some similarities between the Windows operating system CLI and the Linux operating system CLI. Remember, I told you the other day that once you're able to know the Windows, it's going to be very, very easy for you to comprehend the Linux operating system. All right, now, so we also have cat, which is to concatenate. And what this particular command does is that it displays the content of a file directly in the terminal, right? So let me just clear this up. I don't like the way my screen is looking. So let's do ls. Now I think I have a file called odec.txt, right? Like it's a random file. This is a random name. It's not something that okay. We also have at the site.txt. I created all these files before now. So let's just do cat pass. No, no, not pass. Let's do odec.txt. As you can see, the content of odec.txt is this is a cybersecurity class, and we love cybersecurity. Now, I was still going to get to a part where we use a command called nano, but for now, let's stick to the very, very basics on the Windows, on the Linux operating system. So, slow and steady, we'll get to our destination. All right. So, before I move into the next, I think I already did PWD for us to print the working directory. I did that for us when we were doing Windows, but then this is Linux. You can just print, do PWD, and it tells you the exact part you are. So in case you're lost, you don't know where you are, but which rarely happens, and you get lost, right? But where this command is very, very useful is situations like this. I'll walk you through now. So I want to change my profile to a different profile, right? You remember I have two profiles. I have Dr. Cyber and I have Splunk, like I showed you earlier on. Let me show us that again. cd dot dot slash dot dot ls. So I have two users, DR Cyber, and I also have Splunk user. And as you can see here, it says that I'm currently logged in as DR Cyber. So now let me change my user to Splunk. Su Splunk. Now, the thing there is this. Let me clear the whole screen. With Splunk now, you don't know the directory you are, unlike when you were seen from Dr. Cyber. So you can type in things like ls to check the content of where you are. Then you can move into any folder. So we're moving into Splunk, for example. But the thing there is this. Imagine that I clear this terminal. Now, I don't know where I am. Are you getting it? I don't know exactly where I am. So I have to type in a command like pwd, that is print working directory. Tell me where I am. So once you do pwd, it tells you that you're currently in home, and instead of home, you're in Splunk. This is where pwd is very, very useful. All right. But let me exit. Unlike here now, you know that you're currently in the home directory. When you're using a different user, you're currently in the home directory. All right. So, but then it won't always show you like this. In that case, when it doesn't show you like this, you just type in pwd and it tells you exactly where you are. All right. So I want to believe that you understand that. So if you understand that, say pwd. If you understand that, say pwd. Just type it in the chat box. Just drop it pwd. Are we there? All right. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Chris and Mr. Edwin. I'm glad to see that you're following. All right. So let's move forward, right? Let me clear this so that my screen looks a lot cleaner so it doesn't confuse us. Each command I will clean off so that we so now let's look at things like searching for files, right? Searching for files. So now we have like about three different commands that we can use to search for files. Okay, like three different commands that we can use in searching for files. So let's start with the find first. So in find, you can search for files and directories by their name, type, size, etc. So now let's do something interesting. Let's try this. Find find password. Okay, it says no such file. Or now, remember I told you the other day that whenever you want to use any command and you are struggling to know what that command does, you can type in find, either a question mark, okay, or you type in -h, or you type in find -help, right? This should give you a documentation on the command, right? A documentation on the command, and you can see that we have different flags, and we have different flags basically. So you can see that we also have some tests. We have some actions, -delete it, -print it, format, and the likes, right? So let's use the one that we have here. Find /-name notes.txt. So let's do, I think I saw that the other time. I want to check, I want to just see where we have that particular dash name flag right here. Okay, let's just do that. Okay, find /-name, dash name. Let's say .txt. I think this should work. All right. So what I just did now is not something too complex. I just searched for everywhere where we could probably be having a file that is .txt file, but that will keep on going on and on. So that means that if I really want to run that command, right, I want to find what I'm looking for, exactly what I'm looking for. I have to be specific. I have to be specific. So let's just do, let me do this again and look for a specific file. cddr cyber. Let me look for a specific file. Okay, so let's do files 1, 2, 3 instead. Right, let me take some steps back. Files 1, 2, 3. So let's do files 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's trying to find everywhere that has that files 1, 2, 3 inside of it. But then, so this is not, to me, this is not really a very, very productive way to actually find anything, right? It's not really a productive way to find anything. Rather, I would rather use things like locate files 1, 2, 3. Now, with locate files 1, 2, 3, it tells me exactly where I'm going to find this file called files 1, 2, 3. It tells me that this file is currently in home, dir cyber, then files. It shows me the exact path to find that file. All right, so it doesn't matter the kind of file. It will always just tell me, except the file does not exist inside of your Kali, right? But as long as the file is inside of Kali, it will always find it. It will always tell you where it is. So now let's simulate. Let's look for a file that I know for sure that I don't have inside of Kali. Let's do 127. Now, as you can see, the moment I typed in locate files 127, it gave me no result because files 127 does not exist inside of the Kali machine. All right. So now, let's now say that we want to look for a particular content inside of a file, right? You know how you're using a Word document and you're looking for a keyword, maybe like you're looking for where you have money or everywhere you have, every place you have money on that document. You know, you just have to press Control F to start looking for that item. You press Control F and you basically start looking for where that item is. Control F and your keyword, your search term, and it shows you what you're looking for. So now that's where this command comes in called grep. It searches inside of files for specific text. All right. So this is how to use it. Grep, then into quotes, the keyword you're looking for, then the name of the file. So let's do that real quick. Let's check, let's cut files 1, 2, 3 again to see the content of files 1, 2, 3. Okay, file, no such file or directory. Okay, so that's not, oh, I'm not there at the moment. So let's do cd home, yes, or cd home dr cyber, yeah. Paste selection. So let's run that command again, cut files 1, 2, 3. All right, so this is what I have inside of files 1, 2, 3. Now let's just assume that inside of these files 1, 2, 3, I am looking to find the word initiated. Initiated. So let's go back. Let's take some steps back. Okay, I don't take any step back, or I still can do that. I can say cd dot dot slash dot dot. Given that I already know the file path, I can do something like grep into quotes initiated space the file I want to use. Now, take note that I am currently not in that folder where the file is. Now, this means that if I type in things like files 1, 2, 3, now, as you can see, the font is not bold, meaning that Kali cannot find these files 1, 2, 3 in the current directory. So even if I press enter, there's no such file or directory. Now, it calls for one thing. I now need to specify the path of the folder. Now, where is the part of the folder again? Remember that we did this command earlier on that shows us exactly the path. The file is located where? In home, dr cyber, and files 1, 2, 3. So I can just highlight this. Control C, copy is as Control Shift C to copy. Control Shift C to copy. I'll erase this one that I have here. Now I'll repaste it. This time around, I am pasting it with the correct address. It's more like saying that if, for example, the place you live, nobody is called John where you live. And maybe your house is number 21. And the next house is number 22. John lives in number 22. But the person coming to look for John is looking for John in number 21. The person will not find John in number 21 because John doesn't live there. Until when the person now goes to number 22, that is when the person can actually find who John is or find John. That is exactly what I have just done now. We're trying to look for a file, but the file is not in that directory. It's not in that directory. But here we have specified the exact part where the file is. So now our query or command should work the way it's supposed to work because everything is where it's supposed to be. So when we say grep initiated, home dr cyber files 1, 2, 3 and enter, as you can see, it shows me exact, as you can see, this is the text in red, letting me know that it found the word initiated. It found the word initiated in the text on line 1. Now, this can also be useful sometimes. Like there was a time when I was trying to run a brute force attack, a password brute force attack. So what I did was I did some passwords. I found some passwords that I feel that those passwords should be able to give me access. But then I didn't want to duplicate those passwords inside of my password list. So before I added those password lists or the new passwords that I discovered to the password list, I was using grep, then the password and the file name to check if that password already exists in the list. Now, this is very, very useful in the sense that your password list can have up to 10,000 words. So you want to tell me that you start looking for that particular keyword or password in a list of 10,000. That's not productive and that can take you weeks, right? But using a command like grep allows you find that particular thing in that file with just one line of command. I hope that makes sense to us. Does it make sense to us? Does it make sense to us? Hello, everybody. Does it make any sense to you what I just said now? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so I'm going to clear up my screen again so that we can do other things and it doesn't seem clumsy. So we can learn clearly. All right, so we've used find, we've used locate, and we've used grep. Right? Find also has its own advantages over locate, and locate has some advantages over find. Right? Depends on the situation and the scenario that will determine which one you're going to use. All right. Thank you so much for that, for contributing, Dr. Ziggy, Mr. Edwin, and Mr. Chris. Thank you so much. All right, so let's press forward, right? Those are also basic commands for searching for files. So I want to believe that you've taken this out of this class, how to search for files within your Kali. It's going to come very, very handy for you when you're, using Kali, right? So now also let's do some introduction to some shell operators, right? Some shell operators. So before we dive into operators, let's quickly clear up what exactly is the shell. Now, the shell is the command line interface that lets you talk to Linux. When you type a command, the shell interprets it and tells your operating system what to do, right? So now, shell operators are like shortcuts and connectors inside this interface. They let you combine commands, redirect output, or run tasks in the background, making your work faster and more efficient. Now, let's quickly do this one simple thing, right? We have the first AND operator, which is just this regular AND symbol, right? What it does is that it runs a command in the background so you can keep using the terminal. Now, this is what we mean. So let's say we want to ping google.com, for example, ordinarily, right? Now, this action will keep on going and going and going and going for us. It's not going to stop ever, right? It's not going to stop ever. Although there are a couple of ways that we can ensure that this ping scan does not go beyond 4 times. And I'll show us that real quick. So you can do things like ping count -c-c5 and google.com, which means that it only ping it 5 times and it will stop. Right? It's only so sometimes you may need to introduce some flags. We call them flags or switches, right? This -c is a flag. It makes the command behave in a different way, right? So let's clear this up and use the and symbol. So let's do ping google.com and use the and operator. So ideally, this is supposed to push it to the background so that I can do other things, right? But then it's continued. So I'm going to cancel that. There are other ways to push oh, it's repetitive. Uh, okay, so you have running job. So you just keep on running this in the background continuously, but it's not going to stop anytime soon. So let me just close that terminal and continue my activity somewhere else. All right, so that was something that runs in the background but runs continuously. That way I'm not going to be able to use my background for whatever reason or my terminal. So now let's combine two actions together using two ands. Right, let's combine the action together using two ands. We can combine multiple commands, and the second runs only if the first succeeds. So if the first fails, the second one will not kickstart. And an example is we can, let's say for example, we create, let me show you manually. We say make dir, let me go to desktop, cd desktop. Okay, so we can create a folder called this class or yes, or cyber, right? Make dir cyber. It's going to create a folder called cyber. I can now do cd cyber. That means that I have used two lines of commands when I could have just used one line of command to achieve the exact same thing. So what if we now try to do the AND operator together? So we do things like make dir, mkdir. Let's call this one cyber2. And we use the AND operator, two ands, and we say cd cyber 2. So what this should do is to create a directory called cyber2 and put us inside of that folder. So as you can see, that happened already. It's created a folder and it's changed our directory into cyber2. The same things that we did here, but here with just one line of command. All right, so that's how to use the and operator, right? So now let's look at another operator called the redirect output to a file. All right, so um, let me show you the manual one first. Let's say echo my name. Now this just prints that to the console, to the terminal. All right, but what if we now say echo my name and use this redirect operator, my name, into a file called name.txt. As you can see, nothing was printed to the terminal. What was done was it created a text file called name.txt. So let me ask you real quick, just to be sure that you're following. Now, we already have this text, my name text, inside of name.txt. How do I open or how do I print the content of name.txt to the terminal? How do I print the content of name.txt into the terminal? What command would enable me do that? What command will enable me to, okay, I think somebody gave us an answer. Use grep command. Logo. I didn't do any logo. I actually want in the graphic design class. We're in cybersecurity, Mr. Frank. There's no logo here, or maybe you please can you come again and make me understand, or should I unmute the mic so I can get your question clearly? Okay, so use grep is something, but in an instance where you have no clue on what the content of name.txt is, how do you check the content of name.txt? How do you check the content of name.txt? Now, it sounds familiar, right? The command sounds like the name of a cat. The name of an animal, So which animal do you remember? I just gave us a very, very big hint. All right. Thank you, Shika. Cat. So we do cat name.txt. So as you can see, using that command, printed out the content of name.txt into the console or the terminal. So let me see. Mr. Frank, I'm going to unmute your mic right now. Yes, you're unmuted.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Hello, sir.
I can hear you. We can hear you.
I'm trying to, yes, sir. I'm trying to refer to the MK directory, the cyber two, whatever. I don't know. Is it alphabet or whatever over there? That's what, how you did it to get to that stage. Is what is not to my understanding.
Okay. Okay.
The
Okay.
second stage from upward.
Okay. So are you seeing my screen now? You see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can see your screen, sir.
Okay. So are you saying from here or from here? Which one?
Come that the next one.
The next one here.
Yeah, the cursor should come to here.
Okay. So I'm going to
As if it's a dollar. As if it's a dollar sign.
okay, that's not it. This is not a dollar sign,
The
right? This
the
is
CD cyber. Yeah, yes, sir.
and
Yes, sir.
and. All right, so I'm going to mute your
Hello,
mic
sir.
so I can explain it. All right.
Okay, sir.
All right. All right. So now I said this is and make dir cyber 2 and like this here is and that's like the symbol. You know when you want to say I want to go to the market and buy some things, but instead of you type in and you end up using a short and, right? So that is what this means. This right here is saying that we want to perform two operations. So I want to run the first command, and after the first command, I also want to run the second command. But instead of me doing it one after the other, I can use just one line of command to run the operation. So mkdir cyber2 and cd cyber2. What this does is that we just created a folder called cyber2, and after the success of creating this folder, the next command will come into action. And what's the next command? The next command is navigate into the created folder. We have made the folder and we are now navigating into the folder. That's why you see that we were currently around here, cyber. We were here on cyber. But the moment I used this command, what it did was it created a folder called cyber2 and it um, changed directory to cyber2. So that is why we now have cyber and cyber2. All right, I hope that makes it clearer. Just say yes in the chat box if it's clearer now, or if you'd still like some more clarifications. Okay, it's a bit clearer. All right, no problem. But as it goes on, just if you feel confused at any point, just let me know. What we did was just to create a folder and navigate into the folder. Simple. That's why I had to do this first. So you see the manual part, like, well, I won't say manual, so that you can see the step by step. Instead of me doing make dir cyber, then doing cd cyber, I did make dir cyber 2 and change directory to cyber 2 on one command, right? Now, so for example, we want to use this redirect command, but this time around, we want to use a double redirect command. And what it does is that it appends the content or output into an existing file. For example, let's use my name. So this is my name content, my name file or name.txt. I want to add my name, my actual name to the end. So let's say echo Ifeoluwa or is Ifeoluwa and I use that double redirect what's it called, operator, and I specify the name of the file I want to push it into. Now name.txt. Let me add a little space here. So let's do that. So now, if I'm going to cut the content of name.txt, the content should now be my name is Ifeoluwa. Let's do that real quick. Cut name.txt. As you can see, it says that my name is Ifeoluwa. So it added this content is Ifeoluwa to the existing file called name.txt. And in the name in that file called name.txt, we already had a content called a content like my name. This was a content. So all we did was just to add is Ifeoluwa. So it makes more sense now. My name is Ifeoluwa. Right? So if I want to add things like I am a cybersecurity analyst, all I have to do is just say echo and I am a cybersecurity analyst. All right. Then double redirect and the name of the file, name.txt. Enter. So by the time I do cat name.txt again, it says that my name is Ifeoluwa and I am a cybersecurity analyst. So I want to believe that you already understand how to use the double redirect for appending and the single redirect for pushing a content into a file or a file name. Yes, into a file. And sometimes we use it to move folders, right? Or rename folders or something like, yeah, we'll get to that part, slow and steady. So let me clear up this time. I hope you have pen and papers very close to you and you're noting things down. It's a lot easier for you to remember what you wrote in your notes, and it's a lot easier for you to access it than for you to have to go back into the material to start looking for things. So now let's introduce ourselves to flags and switches. You must have been hearing me say things like flags, switches, and the likes, right? So now let's take this time to learn about flags and switches. All right. Now, most Linux commands don't just run on their own. They can be customized with arguments. These arguments are usually written with a hyphen followed by a letter or word and are called flags or switches. So, by default, a command will perform its basic function. For example, ls. This lists the content of the current directory, but notice it doesn't show hidden files, right? It doesn't show hidden files. Now, what I'm going to do here now is I am going to create a hidden directory, or yes, let's say hidden directory, for example, and I'm going to use ls to list the directory, and I'm going to use -a, which is short for --all. So you can compare the differences and tell me your observations. So we're inside of this cyber2 folder or directory. Let's do ls. Now it says that we only have name.txt, right? Name.txt. So what we want to do now is we also want to create a new file called secret file, for example. So let's say, let's call this, okay, let's say echo, this is a secret. And we use a redirect key or redirect operator. And instead of just saying the name, right, secret.txt, but instead we had a dot first, dot secret, or let's just call it sec.txt, dot sec.txt, or secrets.txt. Now, we already know that this .txt is just a file extension. Just the way that we have .pdf, .jpeg, .mov, .docx, and the likes. It's just a file extension. So that the system knows exactly how to interpret that file. All right. If it's a movie, it is .mov. If it's a video file, it's .mp4. If it's a music file, .mp3. Right. But this time it's a file, it's a text file, so it's a .txt. So let's create a file called this is a secret. Right now, we already have a file called secret.txt, but this time we want to hide it. And I've done that by just putting a dot symbol before the file. So let's do ls. ls only shows that we have name.txt in that folder. So what now happens when we add -a or -a? So let's do ls-a. That shows us that we have a file called secret.txt. Unlike when we used ordinary ls without a flag, it showed us only name.txt. But because we have used a switch called -a, it now becomes ls-a, which means list everything in that directory, whether it is hidden or in plain sight. But know that this is not enough for security. If you must hide that file, then there's also a need for you to encrypt the content of the file. So that if anybody is trying to copy the file or cut the file, it's going to be encrypted and unreadable. All right. So this is, I just showed you how you can make a hidden directory or a hidden file. All you have to do is to add a dot, a full stop before the folder or directory or the file. All right. So let's clear this up. Sorry, hold on a bit. All right, so let's clear this up so it doesn't confuse us with other things that we want to do, right? So you've seen now, if you also want to know the other switches or other flags for ls dash dash help, if you want to know the other switches for ls, you just type dash dash help before it and so on, right? These are different switches and it tells you exactly what it does. Dash T sorts by time newest first. Dash T dash U with LT, different dash dash reverse dash capital R recursive and the likes, right? So if you want to learn more about the command, all you have to do is type dash dash help in front of it. So let's move to the next thing. Now, also, there's another approach to understanding a tool, right? Or a command. Either you use ls dash dash help or you actually just type man, which is short for manual ls, man ls. Now, this gives you a more comprehensive documentation on that command, right? It gives you a more comprehensive documentation on that command. So in most cases, you'd always see this is like the manual page for that command. So you keep on pressing things like enter, or sorry, spacebar or enter. You just keep on listing it for you until when you get to the last page. These are all pages, right? And that is it. So sometimes if you feel that dash dash help is not giving you enough information, you can use the man command to check the manual for that particular command. So Control C to Control Z to suspend, and I'm back here. So let's see what else we can do. All right, now let's look at working with files and folders in Linux. So before I move forward, right, does anybody have any question or any suggestion? Basically questions, right? Majorly questions. Do you have any question? Do you have any question? All right, so I believe that if you have questions, you're going to either call my attention to so I can unmute your mic, or you drop the question inside of the chat box. All right. Now, let's look at working with files and folders in Linux. So far, we've learned how to navigate the file system using commands like ls, cd, and find. Now, let's extend that by learning how to create, remove, move, copy and identify files and folders, and also to rename files. So as it is now, I don't need to show us how to make directories because I've done that over and over and over and over again, right? So, but then let's use this command called touch. Now, what touch does is that it creates a blank file. So let's do touch, touch file. So what it does is that it creates a blank file. Mr. Frank, I already sent this material to us already. So just look above the last class recording that I sent. You find this material there. It is right there. Just above the class link I sent for our previous class, you find this material on top of it. All right. So now, what's happened here is that with this command called touch, we have created a file, right? A file. Forget I used the name file for it. It could be anything. So touch class. So when you do ls, you should find that you now have class files, right? They are files. They are files. So let's do things like let's do cat class. Cat class is actually empty. So let me just ask you one question since you've been in the class for so long. Now, which command do we use to add content to class? Since class is currently an empty file, an empty .txt file, what command do we use to create or to add or append information to that class file? What command do we use? Shika, Frank, Edwin, I know that you guys have been paying serious attention. Chris, I know you've been paying attention. So I asked the question now. I said, what command will we use to append, let's say, for example, I want to write, this is a class. How do I insert this is a class into this class file? What command will I use? Okay, thank you so much for that. Double greater than operator. Double greater than operator. Thank you. Thank you. But then there's a particular command that we should use. Don't forget that that's like the first things first. Echo, this is a class. Then we use double redirects, like that's double operator, this double redirect operator, and say we want to put it into class. Enter. So by now, when we now cat class, we should have this is a class inside of it. All right. So thank you so much for your input. Very, very thank you so much for that, Chris. Very, very much appreciated. So now, just to ensure that we don't derail, right? We stay right on track. Now we've seen how touch works. Touch creates a blank file that has no content inside of it. Now let's be sure that it's actually empty truly. We created two files. We created two files with the touch command, which was class and file. But still now, class is no longer empty, but file should still be empty. So when we do nano file, nano file should show that the file is truly empty. So we can go ahead and type into it that my day was amazing, right? My day was amazing. But then when you're using things like when you're using what do we call them, memos or notepad inside of Kali, the way it's being saved is quite, different. So when you're done typing, you press things like Control O. Then, if you're okay with the name of the file, you can decide that you want to rewrite the file or change the name of the file. So let's change it to file.txt, or we can maintain it exactly the way it is. Right? So file, then we press enter and Control X to exit. All right. So as of now, to file is also filled. It's no longer empty. When you do cat file, show you that this is the content that is there now. So what the touch does is just to create an empty file. And I've just showed you two ways on how you can write information or overwrite overwrite a file by using echo and the double redirect uh what's it called, operator. And also you can also use nano to overwrite a file. All right, but then it's not all files you can overwrite. Some will require root privileges, but we'll get to that part. When we get to that bridge, we're going to cross it. All right, now, so let's look at how we can also remove files and folders. Let's see how we can remove files and folders. Now, we've created two files. We have in this same directory. Oh, let me just clear that up. We have three files in this directory. We have class, file, and name.txt. Let's say that we no longer have use for file. We can do rm file, and that should have deleted the file. So when we do ls, we no longer have class, we no longer have file, we only have class and name.txt. Very, very simple to delete stuff. But then some deletions can be can prove to be impossible, right? By using just the rm command. So let's take some steps back and try to delete this folder called cyber2. Now, don't forget that this cyber2 has two files inside, so it's not an empty folder. It's not an empty directory. It actually has content inside of it. And inside of cyber2, we have class and name.txt. So if we try to do rm cyber2, it says that cannot remove cyber2, right? It's a directory. So we have a special way for deleting a directory, right? And that is what we have on our material here. It says that to remove folders recursively, remove the folder my directory and everything inside of it. So let's do that. rm-r, which is recursive, delete everything, like forcefully delete everything inside of that folder, cyber. So you need to be very, very careful with how you use -r and ensure that everything you want to delete that is in that folder is no longer useful to you. All right. So now when we do ls in this cyber, we no longer have this cyber2 anymore. And every other thing that has been deleted with it has been deleted. Unlike some operating systems that will allow you to go to recycle bin and recover them. Once you do rm-r, that's the end, it's gone. So you need to be very, very mindful of how you use -r. Be very, very sure what you're deleting before you delete things. All right. So now let's look at how we can copy and move files around. It's basically the same syntax, right? It's basically the same command. So we're going to try and copy notes now. Well, let's do this. Let's say, for example, ls where we are. Okay, let me clear this up. Let's create a file called, let's do echo. Today is Monday. Today is Wednesday. And let's put that into a file called dates, right? So now we should now have a file called date. So let's now say that we want to copy this file, right? Make a copy. So we do cp, right? Cp date. Then that's like the name of the file we want to copy. And the name of the file we want to copy it as. So let's say date 2. So let's say ls. Now we now have two versions of that file. Okay. So, or we can also do things like cp date and say date copy and do ls. So what we're also doing is that we are just duplicating it. All right. We are just duplicating the file. But then let's now create a folder called let's say mkdir test. Now we now have 3 files and 1 directory. So what now happens if we want to move, well, we want to copy this date into the test folder? So what we do is um, we go into cd test, we go to the destination cd test, and we say cp/desktop, this whole thing that we have here, paste selection slash date, and we hit enter. Okay, sorry, I did that wrong. Missing destination file operand. Um, okay, let's do test here. All right, so ls. Now the thing there is that it actually copied um that same file from where it was and brought it into the test folder. Only that when I added the destination, right, it changed the name because of this command. I could have just maintained the copy. So let me do that. Let's do date instead, like the same name. So now we should have date right here. I know this might seem a little bit like confusing if you're not paying attention. So what I'll do now is that I'll delete it and I'll rerun it again and explain to you all over again. So let's do cd dot dot and do rm dash r and delete test. All right now. So let's say that now we already have our files, but we want to copy them into a separate folder or folder. So let's do make dir and call this folder test and cd test. That means we want to create a folder called test and we want to navigate into it. As you can see, that is done. So what we now want to do is that from the previous directory, right, that's from cyber, from here, we want to copy this date. From right here, we want to copy date and place it inside of test. So what we do is cp and specify the file part of where that file is. If you don't specify where that file is, it will not bring it to you. Now, since we are copying it into it, we have the option to maintain the same name or change the name. So we can call this one date copy. Now, when you now do your ls, it tells you that you have successfully copied this file from this cyber directory to test directory. All right, to test directory. I hope that is clear to us now because I had to make sure that I, did that over and over again so yeah, you can understand it. Now, I did copy within the same directory and I did copy between two directories. The ones that I did here before, let's go back there. The ones that I did here, sorry, hold on. Yes, the one I did here was a directory, within a directory, while the one I did at the bottom was between two directories. All right, from cyber to test, from cyber directory to test directory. All right, so now let's move into move, right? Let's move into move. Now, let's do ls so we know where we are. Okay, so we have date and copy. Now, the thing about copy is that if I use cp date copy and space date 5, what this command will do is that it will only duplicate that file called date copy, right? But this time, it will also create a copy and name that copy as date 5. But what happens when we don't want to create multiple copies or copies? We only want to change, like you want to do a rename, you want to rename the file. So what we do is we do move instead, move. So since we have date copy, if we do move date copy to date 5, what it will do is that it will change the name of date copy to date 5. As you can see, instead of it creating duplicates, instead it only changed the name of the file. If you're using mv, which is move, right? Move also functions as rename. Okay, so what about what happens when you want to move the file, right, from test and you want to bring it to cyber? So what do we say? We say mv date 5, and you specify the part where you want to paste it. So we want to paste it to where we have that's like the previous folder, paste selection. So now when we do ls, that file called date5 should no longer exist inside of test anymore. Now, where do we find it? We have to take one step back. That's where it is. That's where we saved it. We saved it where? Inside of desktop cyber. So if we do ls here, you can see that we now have date5. That is how you move files around inside of Kali Linux. All right. MV within the same directory will change the name of the file. But MV between two directories will move that file from the existing directory or from the current directory to the next directory. So quickly, I want to ask questions. Do you understand what we did with CP and MV? Do you understand what we did with CP and MV? Okay, Dr. Ziggy says yes. Any other person? Do you understand what we did with CP and MV? Any other person? I don't want to carry on until when I get about at least 3 years. So I've gotten to from Chris. Can I get one more person to say that yes? No, don't just answer me that yes. I mean, say let your yes be coming from a place of really understanding it. Okay, I couldn't enjoy the class well because the understanding is not really. I'm so sorry about that. That's why I keep on saying that if you have any question, if you have anything you want to ask, just ask, right? So, Edwin, you say not fully, but you will do revision. Okay, that would also help. But like I said, the WhatsApp group chat is always open, even if you're unable to ask right now. Maybe when you're watching the class recording again, you need some clarification. You can always reach out to us on the group chat so that whatever question you are asking and whatever answer we give will benefit everybody in the class. All right, so now let's take two more commands, right? Let's take two more commands, then we're going to call it a night. All right. So now there are some instances where you want to know the type of a file, right? You want to know the type of a file or a folder. All right. So let's do file date 2. It says that this is ASCII text. Let's do file test. It says that this is a directory, right? And it says that this one is a text file, right? A text file. And this is a directory. So in case you're looking at a file and you don't know what that file type is it a directory or is it a video file or a JPEG file? Whatever kind of file it is, you can just use a file command to check the file type, whether it's a directory or whether it's a TXT file or it's a PDF file and so on. All right. So now, talking about permissions. Now, this is a complex part of Linux. So I don't want to, you know, oversaturate the whole thing with talking about permissions tonight. I want us to reflect on the things that we have talked about tonight. I want us to rewatch the video whenever you're chanced, and I want you to ask questions wherever you feel confused, and I want you to also practice the things that we talked about tonight. So I am going to bring the lessons for today to a wrap up. And on Sunday, we're going to continue with permissions in Linux. So before we call it a night, before we wrap it up, does anybody have any question, any other suggestion? I mean, there's always need for improvement. I'm somebody who loves improvement. I enjoy seeing things become better than they were. So if there's anything that you feel that we can also do to ensure that you're getting value to the best way possible, right? Please let me know. All right. Ask questions, drop suggestions, and the likes. I am open to it all. All right. So once again, I'm going to ask you, do you have any question? Would you like me to unmute the mic so that you can ask questions? So what I'll do now is I'm going to unmute everybody. And if you want to speak, please take turns. All right. The mic is open to anybody. You can unmute yourself now and ask questions. All right. Yes, I think I saw Mr. Edwin trying to unmute his microphone. Do you have any question?
No, no question from my end for now.
Okay, 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 awesome.
Thank
So
you
I,
very
I
much
want to
for this.
believe that the things that we talked about so far, at least you grabbed about at least 80%.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So please, on the 20%, try as much as possible to run through the material again and the video, the recording, so that you can have 100% understanding. Mr. Frank, you want to say something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please shoot.
I really don't enjoy it though, but I think always practice make a man perfect. So going through the
Yes.
materials can revive what I couldn't understand.
Okay, that
I
is
believe
that's
so.
the perfect approach. So like I said, if you're still struggling, you can reach out to us on WhatsApp on the group chat so that we can help each other. All right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Mr. Chris, any other person, do you have anything you want to say before we bring the class to an end for tonight? All right. So in the absence of questions or suggestions, okay, so let's bring the class to a halt. And on Sunday, we're going to continue from where we stopped tonight. Hello? Hello? Okay. All right. So thank you so much, everybody. You guys have been amazing. I am so proud of you, right? I'm very, very proud of you, and you guys motivate. So I wish you all a wonderful night and I wish you all the best. I'll see you in our next class. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful night.